Let's have a nice round of applause for the very funny Mike Degen.
Shit, guys, I was so nervous I just shit my pants outside. Yeah! No, you know what? Anyone here celebrating dry January? No one. Wow. One of you? Yeah. So I've actually been celebrating dry January for the last 5 years. Yeah. And I made it this month. As long as you skip over the ketamine I did on New Year's. Jeez. No, and this dry January was special because for me, it actually also included women. Yeah. No, and I like to say I'm being more intentional with my dating, right? I'm being more intentional. I'm reclaiming my celibacy. Because when I phrase it like that, it sounds like I'm in control.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my interview with digital content creator and filmmaker Mike Degen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the show someone that's actually personal to me. Our kids grew up together, and our kids, my child and this guest grew up together. That's how we know each other. This is digital creator Mike Degen. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Now, it's a little bit indulgent for me because when you went into comedy, I secretly said to myself, man, am I fucking jealous that you were able to pull the trigger and do that because between you and me, and maybe some people know this, I always felt maybe I could have done that, just never had the balls to get up and do it. So how did that come to be? Was that a quick decision or was it gradual? How did you get yourself on stage for that first time?
Yeah, of course, definitely nerve-wracking, and also say it's never too late if you wanna do it, you just gotta do it. You gotta get up on stage, but the very first time, I moved to New York because I knew I wanted to work in film and television, and the comedy world is a really great entry point. I also always love making people laugh, love making my friends laugh, and a really cool thing about living in New York is there's just so many different opportunities to get on stage. There's so many clubs and bars that host events, open mics, and have shows. So I just found one and got on stage, and it was really a way for me to meet people, and also it helped me in other aspects of my life too, like public speaking, for example, or with my job, I work in sales, and so being on stage really helped develop my confidence. I ate a lot, bombed a lot, I should say, and definitely hurts, but it's all about just getting up, trying some new stuff, and going to the next one.
Yeah, so I agree with you there. Like, in our friend group, even when I was younger growing up, I was always the one that made people laugh, still do. But I think that's a big leap from making your friends laugh to being able to get on stage and making strangers laugh because, there's a lot of inside jokes and stuff, but when did you have that moment that you realized this is what I want to do?
I think, yeah, I was actually in grad school out in Alaska, and I knew I really wanted to move to New York, and I thought, what was I missing? And it was just being surrounded by funny people. And so I thought to myself, well, where can I find funny people? And the natural answer was the comedy club. So I said, well, might as well go out there. And I didn't just want to sit around and watch. I definitely went to a few mics first where I was like, maybe I'll get on stage, maybe not. But then I was like, I'm going to put my name in the bucket. If they call me, I'll get up there. And my name got pulled, got up there. And at that point, didn't really have a choice. And then just started talking, bombed. But then started making a plan, started writing jokes, started being more prepared, learned,
Right.
talked to other comics, and went from there.
So that's ballsy too. So you put your name in, you had no preconceived act whatsoever. You just got your name called and you went up there and started just talking.
Yeah, and I wouldn't recommend that, but for me, that's how I had to do it because I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to write a joke. I've seen stand up and do a lot of shows, but I didn't know how they did it. I was like, "Oh, I'm a funny guy. I'll just get up there and make people laugh," but it's not how it works. I mean, some people maybe, but all the comedians that we see write their jokes and practice it over and over again before we ever see it. And so the first time I went up there unprepared just did not go well at all.
I watched your clips though that your mom and dad sent, and I gotta say, you seem natural up there. I mean, I don't know if it was the first show that they sent me. I don't know, but you seem pretty natural up there. I didn't see any fear in your eyes or anything.
Yeah, of course, and I think from those clips that was like my first real show, so to speak, but I'd still been to mics probably 30 or 40 practicing those jokes over and
Okay.
over again. So I knew when I had to pause or when I had to enunciate something. But before that show, I was actually so nervous. Even a few of my friends that were in the audience saw me before and they're like, dude, you got to calm down. But it was almost more gut wrenching to perform in front of people I knew than
Yeah.
strangers because I know not everyone's going to like me. So if a stranger doesn't like me, well, it's like, well, whatever, screw them. But if it was my friends and they didn't, and my family and they didn't laugh, I would have taken that to heart.
One joke I liked a lot, and I think it went over probably most of the people my age, was the Riley Reid joke about not many people know who Riley Reid is, and, or they wouldn't admit to it anyway,
Yeah,
but,
they
I mean,
wouldn't admit to it, but that was actually not that joke was planned, but I almost feel like the biggest laugh was when my dad started laughing and just off
yeah.
the top of my head, I said, "Why are you laughing, Dad?" And
But well, I do kind of have a girlfriend if you include my AI chatbot. Yeah, her name's Riley Reid. I don't know if you can see that on the. Dad, I don't know why you're laughing.
think and I also think that's something I noticed with myself is I think I'm much better with off the cuff humor than really writing jokes down, and maybe that's just because I don't have as much experience doing that, but a lot of my, like, biggest pops, for lack of a better term, in comedy were when I said something and then either someone in the crowd said something and I responded and kind of had a spur of the moment thought.
Right, yeah, there's two schools of thought there. I mean, you have the George Carlins and the Jerry Seinfelds of the world who are pretty much, write it down, rehearse it, and do it. And then more contemporary, you have Ari Spears and even the late Robin Williams who just worked with what was there in front of them. And
Right.
it's funny. There's not one school of thought on how to do it. I think the second one is harder. I think riffing off the crowd, I think is harder than writing jokes.
Right, and everyone's different, and some people one's better, and I don't think there is a better or worse. It's just whatever you prefer as a performer, and that's what it really is just like you're performing and you're trying to have a dialogue with the audience and give them a good time and make them laugh, and however you can do that best is what you should lean into.
Yeah. Before you stepped on the stage, who was the funniest person in your life?
The funniest person in my life, that's a really good question. I mean, like, as an actual comedian, I really like Larry David. Um, there's definitely a few comics that I know that one that I really looked up to that his name is Mike McPartland actually, but most people would never know him. He's just a comic in New York. He's probably a few around my age. But he's in a similar place. So I would see him at all these different mics and stuff. And I would always think, wow, that guy's funny. Like, I can't believe he's not made it.
You watch a lot. I watch a lot of comedy, and I'm sure you do too. There are people that I watch. I'm like, how the fuck did this guy even get signed, or people are paying him? Because some of it's so off the beaten path and so off the cuff that maybe that's his shtick. Maybe that's the shtick though. Like an Andy Kaufman type thing. When I don't know if you're. I'm
Yeah,
gonna sound old now.
I like his type of humor.
Yeah, well, when he first came out, nobody knew what the fuck he was doing.
Right. So I just grabbed my charger. Yeah,
Huh,
because I mean,
okay.
it's so bizarre, but I think that that is a good example of there is an audience for everyone, and it's all about finding your audience. And I see some guys kinda like Andy Kaufman, like one I saw recently is Joe Pera. I think he has a small series on HBO, but I
Okay.
saw him in Brooklyn a few months ago, and I mean, it was so bizarre, but the whole crowd was just rolling, and I mean, it might not work in, like, a stadium, for example, but in
Right.
that environment, it did.
I love New York, man. Well, I'll sidetrack for a second with from the comedy. I'm jealous that you live there. A lot of your buddies from that group of friends live there. I'm extremely jealous. If there's a time I would move to New York. I just think it's an exciting place to be. There's my little press release for New York, like they need it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I kind of after college, I moved around a lot, just trying new places, different jobs, and I always knew I wanted to move to New York, and that I f I finally got to it, and I'm glad I did. I'm also glad I did when I did. I think if I was a little younger, I might not have taken advantage of it because you can, fall down the holes of just partying and drinking, but there's really
Yeah, yeah.
a type of community. So whatever you wanna do, like, you can do that, which I really appreciate.
At one point, both my kids lived in the city. My
Right.
son my son lived in Manhattan, and my daughter lived in Queens, and then My son's now in Miami. He's a true Florida person now, man. He
Really?
co he comes home and it's 65 degrees out and he goes, "Ooh, I gotta get a sweater." I'm like, "Dude."
Wow. He's living life down there. There's a lot of I saw that a lot of New Yorkers have been going to Florida actually recently.
Yeah, I could never live there. That's to me, that's the hell's, waiting room.
I
That's
agree. I'm not a Florida guy. I like New York. I think this is the place I wanna be.
Mike, I wanna tell you, we were just in New York this Sunday, went out to dinner with my daughter and my sister-in-law for my birthday, and, the weather was perfect. There's nothing like walking around in this it's just great. Alright, let me get off New York now.
Hey, happy
They owe me
belated
money
birthday.
now.
Happy belated.
Ah, thanks. The big 6'1", Mike. I'm old.
Congratulations. I think my pops is hitting the big 6'0", I believe. Or no, 6'5". He's
6'5",
6'5"
yeah.
next month.
You made him younger than he is. Alright,
Yeah.
back to the comedy. Do you remember the very first set? Can you remember what went right and what went spectacularly wrong? If anything did.
Yeah, of course. My first set, I literally I didn't know where to start, so I just had Googled, open mics in New York City. There's this organization called the Laughing Buddha, which is, to my understanding, it's like it's a company that they host open mics at all these different comedy clubs. And so you can go on their website, say it's Monday, they'll say, "Hey, these are the things we're throwing on Monday." You sign up for a spot, probably like 7 or $8, then you have to buy a drink. So I just went. I remember I was in this comedy club I'd never been to before. I believe it was actually St. Mark's, um, in Manhattan. And I remember a few guys. It's interesting. A lot of open mics, or I'll answer your question and then continue, but what went right was, I know I got a laugh. I don't remember what I said, but one person laughed, and that made me feel good and gave me the confidence to say, "Okay, I can do this again." Just one laugh, even if it was like a snicker or a pity laugh, someone laughed. And so that was a win for me. What went wrong was I was just trying to riff. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't practicing anything, and some people do this. Some people will go up and they just
Yeah.
wanna practice riffing. But for me, like, I didn't quite understand set up, punch. I was just babbling. So that's what went wrong. But I think the most important thing, and open mics, a lot of comics, I was having a conversation with one last night, and she was saying this exact same thing, is a lot of the open mic rooms, it's actually way harder to make people laugh than at regular shows, because in the open mics, it's basically a bunch of comics coming together to practice.
Mhm.
Because half the time the comics are on their phone and everyone's kind of there for themselves. They don't really care about the other people, as opposed to a show, those people are in the audience. They paid money because they want to see comedy. And so open mics can be pretty rough. A lot of comics, and at the time I was doing probably 10 a week. A lot of the like top people will be doing 3 to 4 a night, if not 3 to
Right.
4 shows, because it's just repetition, repetition. And so it really wears on you, especially, it depends how the room is, right? Because sometimes you get an open mic room that's great. Everyone's engaged, but sometimes it's brutal. You could have the funniest guys in there. No one's getting a laugh because that's just the mood in there. But then once you start getting booked on shows, it's a lot easier to build that confidence, because with the mics, you might be thinking, wow, I'm not really good at this. I'm not getting laughs. But then when you get a show with a real audience, you could do the exact same set you did at the open mic
Right.
and get a ton of laughs. And I remember even before that show, where the clip you saw, I went to an open mic that night. Actually, I wanted to just do a run through my set, and I didn't get a lot of laughs. And then I went over to the show, and in my head, I thought, "Oh man, maybe this isn't a good set," even though I'd worked on it. But then I went to the show and did well.
Yeah, you never know, right? I mean, it's a crapshoot.
Right.
Is there in the world of comedy, like, at these shows, is there a camaraderie between everybody, or is it cutthroat? Like, is there people there to give you advice, or are the people there just, like, hoping that you fail so they look better?
Yeah, definitely. And I would say I've met both. And one of the main reasons I joined the started doing stand up was to make a community here and meet friends. And now all the people that I work with and my friends here, most of them are people that I met in those early days in comedy. And everyone's very helpful, especially, if you ask. They're very open
Yeah.
to welcoming new people. into that community. And then at the same time, there's always going to be people that are kind of those dickheads, and they have those reputation, and people know who they are, and that's their choice, right? And some of them
Right.
are good enough to get away with it, but then sometimes you meet one of them, and you're like, that person is not good enough to be acting like that.
That's usually the case too. Have you ever wrote a joke that you in your head it absolutely killed, but it completely died on the stage? I know you don't write a lot, but has that ever happened?
Yeah, I think a lot of times because, my humor is a little bit edgy, and so, especially I was in Brooklyn, mostly in the Brooklyn comedy scene more so than the Manhattan scene, and they're 2 very distinct scenes, and so the Brooklyn scene, it doesn't re they don't really like that edginess as much, and I would
Oh,
try to force some of those jokes over and over, and it just doesn't work, as opposed to Manhattan, it's way more edgier, I would say, in a comedy's perspective.
that's interesting. And they're only separated by a borough, and then like, there's such a different mindset.
Yeah, it's true, and I think in Brooklyn, like, it's a lot of, I would say more so like a Gen Z comedy scene, like, pretty, leftist, and, it's just different than New York. It's just different than Manhattan, and everyone knows that if in the that's in the comedy scene, is that those 2 places are
Right.
almost totally different.
I think Manhattan is mostly transients, so too. I mean,
Right.
I think that there's not many homegrown people there, and there's just people from all over the fucking
It's
world
true.
in Manhattan. So you get a whole cross section. Now, what's harder, writing new material or knowing when to retire something that's worked? You know, because something stuff could get stale after a while.
Yeah, I think it's for me, the harder part's writing a good joke, and 'cause I don't have a problem saying, "You know what? I'll try it a few times. If it's not working, I don't care, you know,
Right.
I'll write something," but it's hard to write new stuff. And I think that also goes to knowing your audience, right? Because maybe a joke does really well, and my parents always tell me this when I try jokes in the house sometimes. Um,
Now,
and so
do you trust them as a sounding board? I
no, no,
mean,
but I just like making jokes a lot, even if it's not something I'm trying on stage.
okay.
Same thing with my girlfriend. I'll make some jokes where she might not like it, and it's all any humor is about knowing your audience. You might think that something's funny, but the person next to you might hate it.
Right. So that leads into my next question. Is there a subject that you won't touch? Because there are a lot of comedians, and I forget his name. I wish I remember it. He says there's humor in everything, and then he gives an
I agree.
example, like someone says rape, and then he gives an example how he can make a joke out of that. Is there something you won't touch, or is everything fair game for you?
Yeah, I do fall into the thing that anything can be funny. I think just for me, I really try to make my humor based off of my experiences. Like, I can't speak on behalf of I don't know what a woman's experience is like, or I
Right.
don't know what an African American experience is
Right.
like, so I just try to write jokes from and I think all the best comedians, like, their jokes are coming right from their experience and things that they've seen or things that have happened to them, so I just go from that, whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, so have you ever had a heckler?
Yeah, I've had some bad hecklers.
Are you good? Did you handle it well? Do you think, in retrospect?
At first, no, I think I'm fine. I mean, I'm sure with a lot more practice, I've been better, but I mean, the first few times, it's no, it's the worst feeling. You feel awful. You don't know what to do. You're kind of paralyzed. I mean, I was paralyzed up there. It's not great. It's not fun at all.
'Cause there are some masters of it. Robin Williams was great at it, George Carlin was great at it, Richard Pryor was great at it. I mean,
Yeah,
and I'm listing all the greats here. I
they're
mean,
great. I mean, those are the greats, right? Like, I know, and I'm
well,
not.
listen, you're in my eyes, you are, 'cause you're doing s you went to a level that I've always thought I wanted to do or could do, and so you're high up there on my, list.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I always just said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna try it. If it doesn't work out, whatever. But at least I'll know. Oh, that wasn't for me.
Right. Um, every audience has its own personality. Can you usually size up an audience in that first minute on what kinda night it's going to be?
Yeah, I'm not the best at it, but you have I think a lot of people they always say start with your best, right? So usually the first 2 or 3 jokes are some of the comedian's best, and then they'll also save a really good one for the last, so that
Right.
your last impression is oh that was good. But so then kind of in that middle, you have like your different jokes that you can play around with depending on your audience.
Now, have you ever won over a crowd that just want to laugh? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
you
I think so. I mean, it's hard, but I think it's almost and I see a lot of comedians doing this, and I don't like it anymore, but almost acknowledging that and saying, like, "Oh, wow, would be an example of that," but really just acknowledging and then almost, like, flipping it back on the audience. Like, say, if someone had their arms crossed in the front row and just calling it out and being like, "Oh, why so serious?" Or something like that, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
interact and open it up.
Have you ever seen any of Ari Spears stuff? Because he is a master
Yeah.
at it. He used to be on Mad TV, and I don't even think he has jokes. I think he just comes out and he scans the crowd, and "What are you wearing?" And he just I mean, the whole time he's just making fun of people, or some guy will get up to go to the bathroom, he goes, "What you doing, man?" He goes, "I'm doing a show here." Go to YouTube and just put in Ari Spears. You'll get
Yeah,
caught in a YouTube loop, and you will never stop watching. He's that good.
I like stuff like that.
Yeah, he's really good. Who are your influences?
I think, like I mentioned, Larry David, I just love the humor of just really kinda showing, like, how absurd just everyday life can be. Nathan Felder too. He's not as much a stand-up, but more so, film and television.
Right.
Sacha Baron Cohen as well. Oh, yeah, a lot of the Robin Williams, like, a lot of the comedians I like are like, do some stand-up, but also, like, kind of have their comedies, like, in the real world, which I like as well.
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen is a rock star, man. I mean, the stuff that he puts himself in harm, and
Right.
I don't mean like jackass harm. I mean arrested, and I find it hard to believe though. And this may be the cynicist in me. Is that cynicist? Um,
Yeah.
I think some of those bits people have to be in on it.
Yeah,
Some of them. I
yeah,
don't
'cause
know. I
I
mean,
saw they were filming, his show in the early 2000s was the Ali G show. I
yeah.
saw they've been filming the movie of that recently, and so I saw he supposedly got arrested at Wimbledon a few weeks ago, and I don't know. Like, I kinda like how I don't know. Um,
I mean, you have to be under a rock not to know who Ali G is, right? I mean, at this point.
right.
Or Borat. I mean, how could you come across Borat in a situation and not go, "Oh, I know that fucking guy."
Exactly, and I know a problem with the Borat 2 filming was people just would
Yeah,
recognize and ruin it. But so I think that's why he started using I forget the reporter's name, for a lot of it. But yeah, I don't know. And so I'm curious because in my head, I agree with you. I'm like, he's too big that if I was in England and
right.
they're filming, like, I would know who it is.
Yeah. Do you think every comic's dream is to 'cause a lot of them followed this thing, movies, TV. Do you think that is the initial thing, or do you think you could, any comedian could be just happy doing the comedy? Because even the big ones, Seinfeld made a movie. I mean, it's just inevitable, I think, once you get famous.
Yeah, I think there are some like, I've definitely met comics that they have no interest in and a lot of most of the comedians I meet are all doing other stuff too, like acting or
Mhm.
writing for TV. But there's definitely been a handful of people that I met that are like, "I just love stand-up. This is what I do." I think it's become harder too for them, especially in the age of social media, because a lot of people get booked on shows in New York based on how many followers they have. So if
Right.
someone
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
has 25,000 followers, a club's gonna book them because 'cause they're gonna think, "Wow, this person can sell tickets," even though it
Right.
doesn't necessarily translate. But I think maybe one example, and I know he had a show, but I think Dave Chappelle really enjoys stand-up. I know he had the sketch show early on, but I
Yeah.
feel like he hasn't done a lot of movies, and he really like, loves stand-up, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, I've
I I
never
do
met him, but
I do call bullshit on most of the people that you said you knew, "All I wanna do is comedy," but if a network throws them a lot of fucking money, I mean, I don't know. You have to really be
right,
I don't know. That's hard to do because even the greats did it. George Carlin had a sitcom. Don Rickles had a sitcom. So
right.
and Don Rickles had a successful sitcom. Now I'm gonna go over your head
Oh,
here.
I didn't know that one.
CPO Sharkey, man, look it up on YouTube.
CPO, I'm gonna write that down.
He played a Marine sergeant, and it was a he I Don Rickles is my George Carlin, Don Rickles, my 2 favorites. When Don Rickles is on, man, there's nobody better than him.
Right.
And you think about it now, a comic couldn't come along today and do what Don Rickles did now. I mean, everybody's just too woke and you can't, say the things that he said in today's climate.
Right.
I think that's sad. All right. So at one point you decided to step away from comedy. Was that a hard decision or was that easy for you?
No, I think it just came naturally in the sense that performed a few hundred times in the year and a half. Um, and I just wasn't enjoying it. And so even when I had shows and the nights I was supposed to be the most excited, even if it would go well, I was just like, all right,
Mm,
whatever. And then also I just realized I was going less and less and putting more energy into filming things. And so, I just had to have an honest conversation with myself. Well, if everything went according to plan, would you want to be doing shows? And the answer was no, because first of all, I'm not someone that likes staying up late. I'm usually in bed at 9 o'clock. And so going from club to club and getting home at midnight and then going to work the next morning wasn't necessarily
right,
for me. Being a stand-up is hard in the sense that, especially if it goes well and you're touring, you're never going to see or you're not going to see your family as much, and
right, right.
that's important to me. But so when I had that conversation with myself, I was like, I need to be creating film now because that's what I want to do, and I need to be getting that experience. And I kept telling myself as I was doing comedy, "Oh, this is a way to get to filming."
Yeah, so that was an easy pivot for you then. I mean, you had a plan in place when you decided this I wasn't having fun, so let me do this. And I got to tell you, the clips that I watched of you, talking to the other comedian about living in where was it, Brooklyn?
Right.
Very well done, man. I mean, the graphics shoot, I mean, it was well put together. You edit your own stuff and you do all that yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the project that I'm currently working on is the subway stop show. And so the idea is I'm going to go to every single subway stop and then interview someone that lives there. I'm Mike, and I'm going to every single New York City subway stop.
Today I'm with
Lalone,
and he's gonna show me what's up around.
Steinway Street.
So Lalone, what was it like growing up around Steinway Street?
Food, bro. Like there's literally nothing that I can say further than food and culture. Like, I feel like food brings a lot of people together. That's probably the best thing that Queens has to offer. Specifically Steinway and anywhere around Astoria, Queens, period. There's just so many things going on around there.
Now you mentioned different types of restaurants. What are your go-to spots?
Lunch.
And
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
the comedians have been great because now being in the scene, I have a network of comedians that live all over. So I just will be posting on Instagram saying, "Hey, does anyone want to do this?" And the comedians love it because they want exposure, and they're the
Yeah,
people that I want on the show because one, they can show me around, but two, they're going to be funny and entertaining. So
right.
that's the project that I'm currently working on.
Yeah, see, that helps a lot. I mean, I had a great affinity for what you put together because Vincenzo and I went into New York to do a remote for the podcast, and
Oh wow!
we didn't have a list of comics to lean on, so we were just walking up to people, asking if they wanted to be interviewed, and I mean, we were there for 6 hours. I got 22 minutes of usable tape.
Right,
So, uh, yeah, having a group of people that are willing to talk makes it a lot easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but it makes it a lot easier 'cause I was surprised. I thought in New York, I thought you put a microphone on their face, I thought people would love to say shit.
right. Yeah, and
Mm,
that was part of the idea for the show too. Is because I thought the same thing. I was like, well, I'm not gonna know. I don't know everyone that lives at every subway stop. So thought to myself, well, I should also just go to the subway stops, interview people. We tried that a few times. It didn't really work. You never know what you're gonna get. But I will say that one of the best ones we've had, it I think it's up to like 40,000 views on TikTok, was we were doing this with a comic, and then this guy came up to us on the street, and he said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" We told him, and he
yeah,
said, "I've lived here for 50 years." And then we interviewed him, and that did really well. So if someone presents themselves that they wanna do it, that's great. I'm totally open to it, but I don't I don't think I wanna show up somewhere because, 1, I have to block my time, 2, the camera guy's time, and so I don't wanna waste his time.
right.
So far
Yeah.
we've been sticking to, "Hey, we're booking a person. We're gonna meet them there. If something happens, great, but let's rely on this person."
Yeah, I have found when we did the new and we were lucky, the day that we were in New York, World Cup was still going on, and it was Pride Parade as well.
Right.
So there was a bevy of we walked over to the parade, and for the most part, all the usable tape that we got were people, we were dressed in our podcast blazers, we had lanyards on, we had a cameraman there, so people were coming up to us and going, "Oh, what is this? Is this a show?"
Yeah.
But the people that we cold walked up to and said, "Hey, you wanna be on," they'd like, "No, no, no, no." Maybe you'll see my daughter if you go to the right subway stop.
Yeah, which you said she's up in Queens?
She works in Midtown and she lives in Astoria.
We're filming in Astoria tomorrow.
I'll let her know.
Yeah.
Alright, so where do you see this going? So right now you're on TikTok with these things. Is there a bigger platform that you see for yourself with this direction that you're going in?
Yeah, I think with the social media, right, like, it's definitely YouTube's the most powerful, but just for now, I'm treating this as first of all, I wanna do it, like, I think that would be really interesting to go to every subway stop, and I think it'd be cool to complete that, but more importantly, I'm treating this as an education because I didn't go to films. I didn't study film in school, but now it's like every week we're filming. I have a camera guy. I'm editing. I'm really learning how to edit. I'm learning how to do pre-production, and so I'm treating this as an education. For social media, we're seeing the most success so far on TikTok, but YouTube I think would be the best place for it in the sense that we have all these short videos, but we also have when we record these interviews, we'll get much longer takes, and
Right.
so we're putting those on almost like a podcast, so to speak.
Mhm.
But we're seeing, I think, this year, especially the last month, was a really great year for filmmakers coming off of YouTube. I'm not sure if you saw Obsession and Backrooms were 2 films
Yeah,
that they did so well, and those
they
were just
did.
guys that they
Yeah.
posted their stuff on YouTube, and that's how they built their audience.
And
So that's kind of how I see
yeah.
that.
I think that's where the generation gap comes in because I'm a horror movie buff, and I didn't like either of those movies.
No kidding.
No, man. I
Really?
mean, so for 2 different reasons, right? So the woman that works for me where I work, she's 25. So when I came back from watching Obsession, I totally missed the rape overtone stuff. It was just totally lost on me
Right.
because when he makes the wish, then, she doesn't know why she's attracted to him, just and then the sex scene. So that was lost, and Back Rooms, I was like, "What the fuck are we watching?" Just a guy walk
Right.
here's what I thought, this is in my head. I thought the movie was a metaphor for his therapy, how he was working through the therapy about his ex-wife. Is that even close to what that fucking movie was about?
I mean, I think that's a great take. And I was not familiar with the YouTube series that
Neither
came
was I,
from,
so
but I enjoyed some of the jump scares. I think I liked Obsession a little more, and so the Obsession director actually had a comedy channel on YouTube, and so him and the actor Cooper, that they're like a
right.
comedy duo, and so that's how. And I'm also working on like I have a sketch group with a few other guys where we also post that as well. But yeah, for me, this whole project is just learning film and building an audience and figuring I hope that there's just one person that sees it that they like me enough to say, "I'll give him a chance."
Yeah, and YouTube is a fucked up animal, and I shouldn't s I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years, and I don't know if it's the algorithm or how you tag it I don't know how you get in front of the right people.
Right.
I don't know. It
Yeah, I
and
didn't know anything about the meta tags and stuff, and actually, I mean, a tool I've been using that I don't know if it's really helping because my YouTube's doing fine. I mean, I just started 2 weeks ago, but it's called vidIQ, and it does all the tags and stuff for me, so I don't even have to think about it.
Okay, so how do you use that then? A quick tutorial. Does it integrate into YouTube or you do it outside of YouTube?
Yeah, it integrates into YouTube. It's also has a website. So, say I upload a video to YouTube. As I'm uploading it, it'll just analyze it real quick, get the transcript, and say, "Hey, these are the tags you should use." And then it offers suggested titles. It'll give me like 5 titles and says, "Oh, these
Oh,
might do well." And then it also will generate the thumbnail for it too. And then, so I've been doing that. Like right now, I'm not really focused on the long form because I'm just focused on the shorts, but I'm just putting them out there because I have the footage anyway. So that's what I've been using not to think about it, but I'm gonna focus more on the long form once I get the short form down.
And what is the name of that software again?
It's VidIQ.
Okay, vidIQ. I gotta check that out. I mean,
I feel like it was
you
maybe
know,
it wasn't very expensive. I forget like what they have different plans, but it's been helpful.
no, I'll take all the help I can get. So now that we've waded into the waters of the differences in generations, especially with these movies, who do you think benefited where when I grew up or the generation that you were part of? Who had the better childhood?
I don't know. I can't speak on yours, but I mean I had a great childhood, and I also but to be fair, I feel like we were at my generation was right at the tail end of before iPhones and social media really became a thing. Because I didn't really have I didn't have a smartphone until probably about high school, and the algorithms and all that didn't exist, so people weren't glued to their phones. I'm sure if you ask someone maybe 7 or 8 years younger than me, their childhood was totally different, but
Right.
I feel like there was not really conflict. I wasn't really aware of the war on terrorism very much.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know.
I
What
think
would you say?
I listen, there was no social media when I grew up. I'm an old
Right.
fuck. So, I mean, I remember the first computers weren't even a fucking thing. I'm still rocking my AOL address from when AOL went live
Really?
back in yeah, I mean, there's no reason to get rid of it. And it used to take 20 minutes to download one JPEG. I mean, I'm gonna throw out a word too. I remember DOS. Do you even know what DOS is?
I don't know DOS.
Okay, so before Windows, everything was in like just a blank screen called DOS. It was an operating system, digital operating system. I think that's what it was. And you ran the programs through that. It was before Windows. I mean, so it listen, I think growing up kid-wise, like when I was a kid, we went out after school, stayed out till the street lights came on. Parents had no way to get in touch with us. They didn't know where the fuck we were either. I think the digital age handcuffed a lot of kids, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I feel like my childhood was a mix of that and then also the digital stuff, but most of my digital stuff was on the Xbox. And I remember
Right,
we would play together after school. So we'd have like I mean, now it would be a group call, but then we would all be playing the same game and then on the phone together, even if we weren't necessarily in the same
right,
place, which I did like
right.
that.
Where do you stand on AI? Do you think it's gonna be the end of us?
I don't know. I work like I do work in the space now. That's what my day job is. I
Oh,
sell.
so so you have to say you like it.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I think I'm in the camp that I don't think it Gen AI is possible. I mean, like AGI. So I don't think that there's going to be a a humanoid robot that can interact and be just like us. Like, I don't think that's possible. I think maybe it'll get very close, but I don't think an AI will ever come up with new ideas, right? It's only taking what we put into it and then maybe changing it. And maybe this is a pessimistic view, and in 5 years, people will be like, "Look at that idiot! Didn't think it was coming." But
Well, I could send you a link after of a podcaster. I forget the guy's name. He's the world's most authority on AI, and he said we are 5 years away from just what you described that you said is not going to happen. It's already rationalizing.
right,
So once it rationalizes on its own, the being sentient is not a big stretch. Now, I don't know if you know this, when ChatGPT 4 is it or are they on 5? I think it's 4.
right,
That code upgrade came from itself.
yeah, and that's pretty crazy. I mean,
It
it is
looked at
weird.
its code and it
Yeah,
said, "Hey, I need these improvements." So and now the other one that's out there, I forget the name, that we don't have access to yet. Nova, I think it is.
oh, the Anthropic.
Yeah, Anthropic, right. So there's only a few people have access to that. We don't have it yet. That's even like they're saying 10 times more powerful than Claude or ChatGPT. I think it's gonna happen, and maybe that's I'm a rambling old man. I have a sign, "The end is near." I'm marching outside my house, but I think there's gonna be a point where it's gonna look around and go, "We don't need these motherfuckers anymore."
Yeah, because then the question is say it is sentient, then what happens, do you think?
Well, you saw Terminator, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right, I did. I mean, I love Terminator, but, I mean, I do think realistically, like, a intelligent, sentient AI might just say, "Hey, the humans aren't really doing a good job managing things around here," and that could be problematic for us.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll go to the point of killing us. I just think they would keep their AI is smart enough. They would keep us fat and happy, and they would just run everything.
It's like Wall-E.
Yeah.
Also
Yeah,
a great movie, underrated in my opinion.
yeah, it's actually is that in your that's not in your top 10, is it?
I don't think top 10, but I think it's a great one of the best children's movies.
What is your favorite movie? I'll put you on the spot.
That's always a hard question, but I'm trying to think of, like, a complete movie. I really like Goodfellas, I think. I like the mob stories. That's probably one of my favorites, and I know he's in the news a lot now, and but he has always been one of my favorite directors is Chris Nolan, and I really always liked Inception. Like, I don't know, I like a movie that's kinda funky.
Right.
Um, I think that's probably my favorite movie.
But it is interesting, so you being Gen Z and you pick Goodfellas as the quintessential mob movie. You know, there was one that came out before it that really is the best mob movie, but
The Godfather?
correct. Very good
I
answer.
I like
Not a fan?
no, I
Not a
just
fan?
really like the way I like how Henry Hill's character talks.
Yeah. No,
I do love The Godfather though too.
I do love that that was a true story too, by the way, Goodfellas.
Right.
Henry Hill I remember Henry Hill on the Howard Stern show after the movie came out. He was funny to watch. So, if is that your inevitable pivot into filmmaking or no? Are you gonna keep the short form stuff and staying on YouTube, or do you think your next evolution will be feature film or documentary style stuff?
Yeah, I would love to make, feature films. We just finished shooting one a few months ago, which was really cool. It's in the editing stage right now, and we're making or I should say I'm writing the script for the the next one. I always talk in we because it's never one person, it's always a team.
Right.
And so we did talk about Sacha Baron Cohen a little bit, but the next one that I wanna shoot is is a Borat style film, and so the idea behind it is that my sister is a life coach and I'm kind of a loser. And so she takes it upon herself to turn me around. And so we're going to go to all these people in New York, like a stylist, like a posture person. We're still figuring out all the different beats. And the idea is that she's going to approach them and say, "Hey, I'm a life coach. This is my client. Can you help him?" And I'm just kind of an idiot. And we're going to record that. And that we're going to try to turn that into a feature film.
Oh, I like that. Now you're gonna record that without them knowing you're recording it, right?
No, no, no. We'll definitely say, "Hey, we're working on this."
Oh, but they don't know you're playing a character.
Right.
Okay. I like
That's
that.
the yeah, so
What's what's your character's name? You don't wanna divulge that yet.
I don't know if it's been named yet, but the idea is he's just a big old goofball and he can't figure things out. We're gonna take, like, a dance lesson together. It'll be good fun.
No, it sounds interesting. Who do you use for your cameraman?
There's a few different guys down here I've worked with and definitely learning. These are all people that I met in the film and comedy community as well as a good friend from college. There's just so many creatives that everyone's always trying to help out, and I'm in a spot where everyone's also trying to make it, right? And so everyone's trying to figure out like how can I do this for a living so people want to gain as much experience as possible.
Yeah. Do you ever see a time where you quit the day job, and is that the goal, or is this just something fun to do while you have a steady job?
Yeah, I mean the steady job, you got to pay the bills. Definitely want a family, so I mean unless it is a massive success going crazy then they're going to keep the day job.
Well, I mean, what okay, here's a good question. What would you consider a massive success, right?
I think a lot of things I read are basically if you're making double what you would at your day job from creative stuff, that's the time to quit.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's possible. I mean,
Right.
I mean, again, anything is possible, right? I mean,
Right.
That's the attitude you have to have.
Yeah, you gotta believe.
So how many projects in your head do you have? Do you like, you're doing the sequel to the one that you just did? Is there other projects that are in the
Right.
genesis stage, or will you take it one by one?
Yeah, I think so I really have 3 projects that I'm working on. One is the Subway Stop show, which is gonna take probably years to do, and that's something we film a few times a week. The second one is that sketch comedy group that I'm a part of where we film once or twice a month, but always trying to think of ideas there. And then the third is the feature film. And so for me, it's like I can't think more than what's after this. The one that we just shot really was a huge learning experience for me. Definitely a one off, probably no sequel there. So it was really just a way for me to dip my toes in. And it was really like a sprint of how quickly the script came together, and I
Right.
was thinking, like, "How much money do I need?" And then I said, "You know what? Let me just try to do it." And I pulled everyone together, I produced it myself, and now we're just editing it. But so for answer your question with the films, it's just one at a time.
I think that's but you don't wanna get too many things in your head, and then you could, I don't know.
Right. And I mean, it's
So
just so much effort to put together a film.
no, I can only imagine. I mean, now
Right.
what is your go-to, you're gonna stay with the reality stuff, or do you see yourself actually maybe writing like a Interstellar?
Yeah, I would love to write something like that, but I think as a creative, you just have to write what's coming to you and what's on the top of your mind. And for me right now, right, I have certain limitations like budget with a budget,
Yeah.
right? So I'm thinking, well, what can I film where I'm not gonna have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars? And
Right.
getting real people involved helps with that a lot. Having like almost this like mockumentary style is a lot cheaper than setting up something like that. Obviously, I can't do any I mean, I could, but
Right.
special effects, like, that's all off the table for now. And so,
Yeah.
my hope is that as I keep making films, each one gets a little bigger than the last, and that's all I can hope for.
Yeah, but here's my fear, like, Backrooms and Obsession are getting sequels, right? Because they were so successful with the small budget. I don't know, my big fear is they're gonna get a budget now, and I think all of that that drive and spontaneity is gonna be gone, and it's gonna be a piece of garbage. Not that
Right.
I also thought the originals were pieces of garbage, but you
I'm
know
not
what
the
I'm
biggest
saying.
fan of sequels. I hope I never make a sequel in my life.
Well, no, listen, there have been good sequels. You can't blanket it and say all sequels are bad.
Right. I just that's my take. The
I mean, once you
Godfather
get
was a good one. That was a good one.
Godfather 2, better
Right.
than Godfather 1.
That's
I
what they
mean, that
say.
it is, it's a better movie. Now when you get to, like, Jaws 3 and Jaws 4, now you probably don't remember the plot of Jaws, 4. The mother of the first shark who they killed in the first movie figures out who killed her son somehow
Yeah,
and
that's
swims from the West Coast to the East Coast to exact revenge.
well, through the Panama Canal?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they thought that far in advance, but I mean, it is a shit. Michael Caine is in that, and I mean, I'm gonna ask you. You know who Michael Caine is, right? Okay.
Right.
His famous quote is, he goes, "I never actually saw the movie, but I did see how much they put in my bank account to do it."
That's
So,
right.
that's one of my favorite quotes. What is your favorite sequel then? If you heard Godfather 2 is better, do you have a favorite sequel that you said, "Okay, this was worth doing"? No?
I don't think so.
Wow.
Maybe The Godfather is the best sequel I know of. I can't think of
Yeah, it is. It is. It's difficult when a movie's successful. They're gonna throw money at you because the studios want a second one, and sometimes you have an idea, sometimes you don't, and when you don't, I think you force the issue, and I think you wind up with a turkey. But
I agree,
where do you
that's
s-
what
where do you stand on the whole superhero genre? Do you
it's
have
not
an?
my favorite, I could understand I think something that I'm not gonna get up on a stoop and be like, "Oh, they should do this," but, like, right, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these superhero movies when, there's hundreds of filmmakers that if they broke up a $300 million budget, they could do 30 $10 million films. And so as a creative, it's like, okay, well, there's those films have been paying the bills for the studios, so we need them. But at the same time, I wish I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm sure some people are, and that's for them.
No, I got my tickets for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Me and Vincenzo were going, so.
No kidding.
Oh, I love superhero movies. In fact, those are the only movies I go see in the theater are big budget superhero
Really?
films.
See,
Yeah,
my only Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. I don't wanna see any other Spider-Man. I did like the animated ones were okay.
you
But
don't like Tom Holland? Tom
I
Holland's
think he's a
awesome.
nice guy. I like Andrew Garfield, but Tobey Maguire, that's my Spider-Man.
Well, don't go see Doomsday then when it comes out in October.
That's the Avengers, right?
Yeah,
Y
I could spoil maybe I'll spoil it for you off air in case people get pissed off, but,
I
I mean,
saw the
it's out there what happens to Toby in Doomsday, but
Oh, he's in Doomsday?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
for the first 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I'm looking forward to that one too. I mean, but to me and, I watch things wink, wink on my Fire Stick, because 9 times out of 10, I watch a movie and I go, "I'm thankful I didn't pay motherfucking money for that," because I think the art nowadays is in the trailer. I think that's where
Really?
the true yeah, I think that's where the true art lies because I'll watch a trailer, I go, "Ooh, that's gonna be good." And I watch the movie and I'm like, "What the fuck? That had nothing to do with the
Oh, that's
trailer."
interesting. I've almost I almost stopped watching trailers because I don't wanna know. If I hear people talking about a movie, I'll go see it. How I do it is I have a AMC subscription.
Okay.
So I think of it's the same way as a Netflix subscription. I pay like 30 bucks a month, and so in my head, I'm like, I should go to the movies once or twice a month, so I'm using it. And I like doing that. I like seeing new movies when they come out. I like going to theaters to support them, and I also like seeing them as soon as I can just so I don't want anything to be spoiled.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. I'll be there I mean, it comes out Thursday, but those maniacs are gonna be there at midnight, not me. But, I'll be there Friday because, like, you're right, after the whole actually, Mike, it's all spoiled already anyway. If I watch all those YouTubers, the scoopers and the
Yeah, I don't do
uh,
that.
I already know the whole fucking movie.
But see, now do you
So
think you get less enjoy I like being surprised, but if you still like it, I mean, I like
so
going into a movie knowing nothing.
my surprise was when I heard them talk about it. I'm like, "Ooh, they're gonna do that." And, we don't get to see it until it comes out. So there's that. But I don't know. I have FOMO, I think. I think that's why fear of missing out, and I think that's why I like the scoopers. That's why I pay attention to that. I don't know.
That's an int I've never done this.
And they're cool about it. They'll say, "Listen, if you don't wanna know, turn it off now." But,
Yeah, because 'cause I'd much rather say I go see it and then I definitely, like, talk to friends where we start talking about a movie and then everyone always asks, "Have you seen it yet?" Because a lot of times people be like, "I haven't, don't say another word," or they'll say, "Have you?" And then you're like, "Yeah," and then you can get into it.
yeah. But then you get the maniacs, it's like, 6 months after the movie came out. "Oh, don't tell me, I didn't listen, if it's 6 months after,
I agree.
you're on your own. I'm not watching what I'm saying if the
I
movie's been out
agree.
for 6 months. That's crazy. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 5 to 10 years? You have a plan in your head or
In 5 years, I would like to have $1,000,000 budget.
ooh,
That's so that would be so right now I would say my first film really was no budget, and, when I say that, I spent money, right? So, it was just
yeah,
kinda like, "Hey, whatever comes up, I'm gonna pay for it out of pocket." I don't know how much it costs, I would guess about $5,000 total between just materials, I would,
right,
like, buy people food, um, I'm paying for editing. So, but it's still like a no budget, right? I didn't say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." Now for this next film is gonna be a $10,000 film.
wow,
And so that's the step. It's like, okay, well, now I have to set a budget. I have to organize it. I have to get the money, which I've just been saving from my job to pay for that.
right,
But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into this. This is what a $10,000 movie looks like. And then hopefully after that, if that goes well, we can go 50 or 100.
right,
And that I would need to get some help for. But by then, I could have this other movie that I made saying, "Hey, this is what my $10,000 film looked like. and then I would
Right.
go to producers and say, "Hey, can we try to fundraise some money?"
You
And
ever
then
think about, putting them in festivals? 'Cause that's a way to get exposure too. Have you done that or no?
yeah, so not yeah, definitely, like, thought about that, but the one I worked on isn't finished yet.
Okay.
But I do wanna submit it to mostly comedy and, like, debut festivals. But, I mean, if I'm be it's funny 'cause, like, even though it was 2 months ago or 3 months ago that we finished filming, I can look back and say, "I've learned so much, this is bad, like, I wouldn't do this again today," but it got me to where I am. But I also think some of the shorts I've been working on with this comedy group, we're gonna start putting in more festivals too, because one of the guys is a lot more familiar with that, just to meet people and meet producers because, right, the idea of that is someone's there and they say, "Hey, I like that. Maybe I wanna meet this person and give them a chance."
Yeah. How many hours a week would you say you dedicate to this passion of yours?
Probably 40 or 50.
Oh. I hope your job is not watching this.
Yeah, I really hope so too. No, I mean, I work a full work week, but anytime I'm not working my job, I'm working on this or spending time with my girlfriend, and she wishes she spent more time, but I told her, I'm like, I really gotta work on this, like, this is the time I gotta do it."
So do you think you're handcuffed in a way? Because if you look you look at a lot of actors or rock and roll guys who tell their story, there's a point in their life where they fucking drop everything and just go and do that, and they wait tables, and they don't have a full-time gig. It's just 24/7 to get where they wanna get. Do you think you're at a disadvantage, or you think the times have changed where it's not the same as it was in the '60s and '70s for artists or actors?
Yeah, I think few things. One, this is the choice that I made. The grass is always greener, and I definitely have friends on the other side that they're working on 3 or 4 features a year, but then they say, "Hey, I think I need to get a 9 to 5." Like, it's just it's not stable enough, and I think times have also changed in the sense that city's just a lot more expensive, and maybe back then, it was you could work wait tables a few times a week and be able to make rent some by. It's not gonna be like that anymore.
Right, yeah,
But I think about that a lot, and I also will say I think it makes me more focused when I'm doing the work because I say, "Hey, you got 3 hours today, and those 3 hours you gotta work hard." And that's all I
right.
get some days.
Do you have someone that that shares this drive with you that you work with, or is it all Mike Deegan?
No, no, there's definitely a few collaborators, in different projects, of course, and few mentors as well of guys that are maybe just like have been doing this a few more years than me that I can always call and say, "Hey, I'm working on this. I don't know what to do. Like, what should I do?" But I think over time, right, like your collaborators change, and there's definitely a few that I'm really thankful for that I have right now, and hopefully they'll be with me all the way.
Does your girlfriend, um, share your enthusiasm and drive for this thing, or does every time you talk about it, she rolls her eyes and
No, she's so supportive. She's so sweet, and I mean, her thinking is this, right? It's like, we can keep working our 9 to 5s, but may probably won't ever, like, become really well off, especially with the increasing cost of buying a house and stuff like that. So,
right.
I mean, her thinking is really like, "Hey, take the shot now," just take the shot.
Yeah, yeah, I think more people need to do that, right? I mean, I don't think I'm taking I'm doing this as a side hobby. Although I will say, I mean, from 5 years ago when I started shouting into my phone, and I have a set now, and I'm getting advertisers, so,
Looks great.
uh, I'm getting people contacting me for interviews, so it's all everything's on a scale. I mean, it keeps me busy. I have Vincenzo. I'm using his stage name, you know who I'm talking about. He shares the passion with me, and he has a segment that we do together, so it's fun, but it also I take it seriously,
You're
and
right.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, what takes more time for me is the editing.
Really. Yeah, no, I
I
that's one of my least favorite things too. I mean, it's just you're in there.
Yeah, and I mean, you wanna get an episode out, and you're on a deadline, and you gotta get it's crazy, but, it's a passion project just like you have what you do, and I applaud you for making that step into comedy. Again, I'm gonna be man enough to tell you, I was jealous when I heard you were doing that, and I apologize for not being able to be there for that first show, but we had a family commitment
Oh,
that
no
I
problem at
couldn't
all.
I wanted to be right there, and I even said to your dad, I said, "I'm gonna heckle him,"
Yeah, I would have loved it.
and he said, "Do it." If you but I wound up not being able to go, and I was very upset, but
No, I mean, I really appreciate the vulnerability and support.
all right, what do you got coming up? You working on those couple projects? Is open mic night done for you? Is that it? You're done?
Yeah, so I'm not really getting on stage anymore. Like, if one of my friends is throwing a show and they want me on, I'm more than happy to help out. But really, I just want to be behind the camera now.
All right, I'm glad I had you on, and thank you for taking the time to sit down with me. I'm gonna say I knew him when, and I did know you when. I knew you when you were,
Yeah, you knew
uh
me when I was just a little dirtbag, little shitbag.
no, awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it, and, I'll have you on again when you're accepting your Oscar for Best Picture.
You'll be the first podcast I do if that happens. I thank you for having me.
Alright, thanks a lot, Mike.
Take care.
Let's have a nice round of applause for the very funny Mike Degen.
Shit, guys, I was so nervous I just shit my pants outside. Yeah! No, you know what? Anyone here celebrating dry January? No one. Wow. One of you? Yeah. So I've actually been celebrating dry January for the last 5 years. Yeah. And I made it this month. As long as you skip over the ketamine I did on New Year's. Jeez. No, and this dry January was special because for me, it actually also included women. Yeah. No, and I like to say I'm being more intentional with my dating, right? I'm being more intentional. I'm reclaiming my celibacy. Because when I phrase it like that, it sounds like I'm in control. And if I wasn't in control, well, that would make me an incel. And then you'd have to wonder, well, who's getting shot? Yeah. And you know, some incels like to go for high-value targets, right? What Crooks tried to get Donnie in the summer. Me, I played Call of Duty as a kid. And if you don't know, the object of that game is to get the highest kill streak. So if I was an incel, I'm just going to stroll into the nearest elementary school. But then I think about it a little more, and maybe I should stroll into the nearest retirement community, because half of them would probably thank me, and it's not like they're going to run away. Yeah, terrible, terrible. Yeah, so if you can't tell by looking at me, I'm from the suburbs, and my parents are actually in the audience today. Yeah, really happy. Really happy to have them. It's funny because yesterday my mom texted me to break a leg, but today she literally broke her leg. She has a leg brace. Yeah, too fat. Yeah, I'm from New Jersey. There's, let's give it up for New Jersey, right? Yeah. There's different parts of New Jersey, and I know some of it gets a bad rep. There's North Jersey, and if there was an armpit of America, it would be that, right? There's the shore. I think they made a show about it. There's the South, where there's a bunch of farmland, and there's Central Jersey, which is where I'm from, which is kind of like a poor Connecticut, in a way, for lack of a better term. But growing up, my mom was actually an attorney. Right? Pretty cool, yeah. And but a problem with that is I like to argue. I like to argue. So imagine being a kid and you're arguing with your mom and she's an attorney, right? I was fucked. It didn't matter what the evidence was, I was guilty. So in a way, my mom just taught me what it was like to be black. Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. So then, after growing up, I went to school, and I thought I was going to be a banker. I had a summer internship at an investment bank. I stared at spreadsheets all day. And by the end of the summer, I thought it would be a better idea to change career paths than hang myself. But then I thought about it, and I already do that when I masturbate, so I don't know. Yeah. Hell yeah! Yeah, so then I decided to move to Alaska. And it was great in the summer. I lived in a small town. The town was so small there wasn't even a grocery store. Someone just bought a bunch of shit at Costco and had it shipped in on a barge. It's crazy. And this proved to be a problem because one day I needed Plan B, and I literally had to call a pharmacy in Juneau and get it shipped in. Terrible. I guess those who know. Yeah, but then the winter came, and there's 3 things about an Alaskan winter that kind of fuck with your head, right? The first is the cold. Everyone in New York's been complaining about the cold recently. Who here's been in 0-degree weather? Anyone? Jesus. Well, imagine that being the high for 6 months. Awful. The second part is the darkness, right? I was only seeing the sun a few hours a day, and that really messes with your head, and there's different remedies. They give you happy lights, vitamin D, and meth. But most people turn to alcohol, actually. Alaska has the highest rate of alcoholism in the country. It's so bad that one time I went to an AA meeting, and it was just the town hall. Yeah. But the worst part about Alaska, the loneliness, the dating. There was only 3 single women in my town. I dated all of them at one point or another. And we had a lot in common because they were my cousins. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so obviously I needed to do something different, so then I started dating a moose. And what can I say? I like long legs, guys. Yeah. But then I moved to New York, and like a lot of people my age, I got on dating apps, and I had different experiences with that. You know, Hinge, Tinder, bunch of that kind of stuff. But it wasn't really doing it for me, so I decided to explore some of the more niche apps. Right? There's apps for everything. For BDSM, for sugar daddies, and even water sports. And based on who's laughing, now we know who in the audience likes to get pissed on. Yeah. Yeah, but no, to me, and there's differences between New York and Alaska too, right? Like, for example, in New York, there's 1 million people per square mile. In Alaska, there's 1 person per million square miles. In New York, happiness is fleeting. In Alaska, it's non-existent. But the biggest difference is definitely the subway, especially at this time of year. Because on the outside, it's kind of cold, and then you go inside and it's warm, riddled with diseases, and totally unpredictable. Which is exactly like my girlfriend's vagina. But, no, I'm just kidding. I don't have a girlfriend. That would be really disrespectful if I did. I respect women. I did. But, well, I do kind of have a girlfriend if you include my AI chatbot. Yeah. Her name's Riley Reed. I don't know if you want to see that on the, Dad, I don't know why you're laughing. Yeah. All right, Dad. All right, so, yeah, I don't know if you've been seeing on the news. A lot of guys have, like, these AI girlfriends now. And they've been telling us to do some pretty crazy things. Like, some tell people to kill themselves. Some tell people to kill other people. And I asked mine how I can make my biggest impact on the world. And she told me to shoot a healthcare CEO. No. Read it to us news. I'm just kidding. I do not condone violence. I'm not a violent person. But last night, I had some spicy Thai food, and there's a war going on in my stomach right now. It's so bad that this morning, I ran to the toilet, and my asshole was gaping. I was confused after. It was awful. Which is exactly how I felt after my first Diddy party. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, so I just want to leave you with this. There was a tragedy in Washington a few days ago, right? The plane crashed, and it was horrible. I mean, I personally wouldn't be caught dead in a plane coming out of Kansas. Thankfully, the only thing that caught them was the Potomac. Yeah, not great. No, but I did see the news was starting to spin it. They said this is the worst aviation disaster since 2001. And you start thinking about it, And I just want to know when they started naming a planned demolition an aviation disaster. Jeez. Have a good night, guys. Thank you. Oh, wait.